Okay. Kim Iversen and Tim Pool feud back in December 2025 was actually kind of funny. So I am going to react to Kim Iversen 7-month-old video that she did about Tim Pool making a fabric making a fabricated story. The reason why she was not invited back to his studio, it's because Kim smelled weird. So here.
Bit of drama between myself and Tim Pool going on right now, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to address it or if I was going to ignore it. Sometimes with things like this, you're told, oh, just ignore it, don't give it any airtime, just act like it doesn't exist, it'll just go away. And I'm not really bothered by it, so might as well talk about it and air the drama that has been going on publicly and also a little bit behind the scenes. But essentially what has happened is that Tim Pool has attempted to humiliate me and defame me. Now, he's backpedaled on it a little bit. He did delete the offensive tweet that he put out there. He's deleted it. He, on his show, apparently said it was a bit of a joke. At least that was before I saw what the
No,
tweet.
I don't think it was a joke. I think Tim tried to humiliate you. I think Tim tried to humiliate Kim.
Was itself. And I'm going to address exactly what was said, what he deleted, why it was defamatory, an attempt at humiliating me, why it's different from free speech, why it's actually defamatory per se, what the difference is, why it matters, why does somebody like me, somebody who supports free speech, say that, well, he's crossed the line this time. And what exactly is going on with the drama? Because some of it has been a bit public, but I want to start off with, this is the tweet that I first saw. Now, over the last few days, I have been criticizing Tim Pool and his meltdown over Candace Owens. I mean, he's just been having a total meltdown. And I shared a story about something that had happened while I was in his studio. I've been on his show twice. And the first time I was there was a story, which I'll share with you the clip. And I talked about that. Now, Tim reacted. This guy, Furkan Gozukara, he's a Turkish influencer, I suppose. Let's go ahead and put up that tweet. He says, Kim exposes a humiliating moment. Tim Pool's staff admitted they are forced to be pro-Israel to please their donors. She reveals how so-called independent creators are actually paid establishment lackeys pushing Zionist narratives for cash. And his tweet's not exactly true. That is not what I said, and I'll play for you the clip. But Tim Pool reacted to this tweet that was put out there by Furkan, and he says, we don't have donors, you effing invalid. We are a for-profit corporation. We don't take grants and have no investors. Israel can suck my dick. I don't give an F, he says. Let's go ahead and play that clip. Now, this clip is... the context of it is that I'm saying that when I had thought, because Candace Owens says she thinks that Tim Pool might be going through some financial problems. And then I'd said, well, maybe because I thought he was part of the Daily Wire ecosphere, maybe not on their platform, maybe not directly, hey, I'm a Daily Wire show, but it was on, there was some weird point that had been part of it died to support the establishment. Next generation pain relieving and Juve. Started getting these other and pour myself a declaration, nothing lasting recovery. Get and use code Kim to move freely again with TheraBlue. Okay, so that's what he's reacting to by saying, you're an effing invalid and we're a for-profit corporation and we don't have donors. Although you could still have grantees and donors even if you are a for-profit corporation. Nothing's telling you that you're not able to also accept, depending on how you're set up or whatever. But anyway, I started seeing these strange things. So I saw that tweet from Tim Pool, and I just wrote, oh, Timmy's having a meltdown. And let me go ahead and pour myself a glass of his Zio tears. Because he's done this before. And he melts down all the time. But I started getting these other strange messages that I was seeing on my Twitter account. And it was these random pop-up messages that would say, Kim, I heard you stink. Or is it true, Kim, you smell bad? And I was like, where, this, when you see the first one, you think, okay, that's weird. And then I saw another one, and then I saw another one, and then I saw another one. And I thought, okay, where is this coming from? Like somebody must have said something. And then I finally see this is the tweet that Tim had put out there that he has deleted because he knows it's actually, he probably got a phone call from his attorney that said, actually, Tim, that is crossing the line into defamation, and you probably shouldn't say something like that. And he should definitely educate himself. But this is the tweet that he says. He said, when Kim Iversen came to our studio, she smelled like she didn't wipe. We got the feeling that she intentionally doesn't. It was weird. It's why we haven't had her back on. We couldn't stand the smell. Okay. First of all, his statement is categorically and provably false, demonstrably false. And this is why I had actually, I can prove that this is false. You know, people say, oh, how do you prove smell? Well, you don't need to prove smell. What I can prove, I mean, you know, if you think I stink, maybe I think you stink. I mean, that's subjective, right? So somebody can think somebody smells great and somebody thinks somebody stinks, right? I totally understand that. But this is...
No, I look like I stink because I wear the same variation of same clothes from my green ill-figure shirt to my black shirt to my red ill-figure shirt, but I do wash them. Okay.
Is obviously demonstrably false is that I've been on Tim's show twice and I've been invited on a third time. My first appearance, this is a message from Tim Pool in March. This is February 23rd of 2021. Tim Pool messaged me saying, hey, Kim, I would love to have you on my show. We can cover all the travel and accommodation. And I was like, great, okay. That was February and March of 2021. Then actually I was on a show another time. I was on in March of 2022. So I was on pretty much almost exactly a year apart, 2021 and 2022. Let's show those clips we have of me in studio. So that's from March of 2021. And then here's March of 2022. Clearly not stinky enough, because they invited me back. And then in the message that we just showed, let's go back to that. Tim Pool writes me personally again in August of 2024. So this is just last year. He writes me and he says, do you got time to come back on the show? And I said, sure, would love to. His team then emailed me in August and again in September. They tried multiple times to get me on. We could not, scheduling, I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the time to be there. So I didn't go. So I declined the invitation on my own, not because of some made up junior high fantasy that Tim Pool has about his, about whatever. So it's demonstrably false. That part's important because I'm going to explain, why this is problematic. And I didn't, look, I'm not a snowflake. When I saw this, I thought, oh, okay, that's gross. I mean, it's just a gross thing to say about somebody. But, and not only that, but come on, I am Vietnamese. So we're like, we use bidets. I mean, if anything, America, I would love everybody in America to adopt the bidet system. It's one of my big criticisms of Western culture. The French do, which is why Vietnam does, because they were occupied by France for 100 years. But nonetheless, okay, that's just beside the point. So basically, then I had an attorney write to me and say, Kim, this is actually defamatory what he wrote. This is actually defamation per se. And this is not the same as anything else that could be said. So I went to him and I said, hey, you've now crossed the line into defamation per se. And you should, maybe you should gather receipts. If you're going to make a claim like this about me, saying that everybody on your team thought I was so stinky, you didn't want to have me back when you've had me back. And
what I think Tim should have done, he should have just told her that she stank, as opposed to making this fabricated story that he did not invite Kim Iversen on. It's because she smelled weird.
You've invited me again, which I did not go. maybe before you make statements like that, you should have the stuff to back that up. And Tim then went on and tweeted that Kim Iversen is threatening to sue me for saying she smelled bad. LOL.
No,
right?
that's false. That's false. The reason why Kim Iversen threatened to sue him is because of this made up story about why she was not invited back on the show.
Okay. And then I wrote in response to this, Tim couldn't handle criticism, so he cooked up a junior high hygiene smear, classic behavior from short, bald, insecure man who panics when exposed. I warned him privately and he still doubled down. I've got receipts that shred every part of his story, but why waste years in court when he's already torpedoing his own career for free? And those receipts are, they've had me back on the show numerous times. So apparently they liked my smell, even if it is stinky, which it's not. But if it was, they clearly seemed to enjoy it because they kept inviting me back. Now, apparently he had also made the comment live on his show. And then right after he said it, he said, "Oh, I'm joking." That's apparent. That's what I'd heard from people that watch his show. They said that he'd said it briefly and then said he was joking. And he did delete that tweet. But, the damage has been done. People have seen it. And not only that, there's a screenshot out there. Of course, I even have it. And so now people are thinking that there is this, that I'm stinky because of, and maybe to some people I am. I don't know. Maybe you don't like my perfume totally and completely. That's fair enough. He's known for lying, by the way. Let me just show you this. This is lying because you guys, we've been hearing that a lot lately. It's analysis. It's me looking at his editorial. I said, and why it's protected, because I said I believe Tim is influenced by pro-Israel donors. That is CIA, or that pundit is doing Israel's PR. That outlet is. So yes, I can legally say he claimed that I came into a studio.
What is the differences between opinion and defamation?
Back in August of 2024, and his team followed about a specific. Here's what Tim said. He didn't attack my ideas. He didn't attack my politics. He didn't say Kim is wrong or Kim is biased. He told a very specific story. He claimed that I came into a studio smelling disgusting, like I didn't wipe, and that this was the reason they never had me back. That is not a political argument. That is not opinion about my motives. That is not commentary on my analysis. That is a claimed physical event in a specific place, his studio, at a specific time during my visit, about a specific condition of my body and hygiene, and tied to a specific professional consequence, which is we never had her back because of this. And most importantly, it's false, because I was in his studio in March of 2021. I was back again in March of 2022. And then he personally invited me back in August of 2024. And his team followed up and tried to book me again in September of 2024. However, I turned those invites down because of scheduling, not because of some imaginary hygiene scandal that he invented during his spiraling outrage. So we're not talking about opinion. We're talking about a fabricated, humiliating story that is presented as fact about my body that contradicts his own actions and his own booking history. And it's called defamation per se. Now, as much as I love free speech, the law does draw a line, and it's a pretty reasonable one. Defamation per se means certain types of lies are considered so obviously damaging that the law doesn't even make you jump through hoops to prove harm. Like, you don't have to prove you had financial loss or that you had loss of some, of anything, actually. And those categories are generally false statements about someone's health or hygiene, like saying someone has a disease or an STD, or saying someone is physically unclean in a way that makes them socially unacceptable physically or even sexually. So like talking about their sexual, if you imagine if you canceled or that doctor has a low surgical success rate, or that lawyer claiming a journalist is bought by Qatar, tree wrong. Courts treat this more like political about me. People should be allowed to say Kim is a shill for Qatar. They're not going to dime from any government, but people are allowed to say it, respond to it. I can mock it. I can disprove it, but they should be allowed to say it, even as much as I hate it. Now compare that to that story was fabricated, that journalist, but feel like they seem bought off. So it's considered political opinion, and that is free speech. And I want that kind of speech protected, even about me. People should be allowed to say Kim is a shill for Qatar. I see that all the time. Or Kim is an Assad apologist, or she must be taking Assad money, or she's bought by Russia. None of those are true. I've never taken a dime from any government, but people are allowed to say it because that's what they think. And it's basically them expressing an opinion that they think that I'm in the pocket of Qatar because I'm anti-genocide that Israel's committing. So I can respond to it, I can mock it, I can disprove it, but they should be allowed to say it, even as much as I hate it. Now compare that to that story was fabricated. That journalist fabricated that particular story. Now that's not about motive, that's not she's biased or she's influenced. That's a direct accusation that a journalist knowingly published false information, lied about sources, faked evidence, like Jussie Smollett did the thing, okay? That's career ruining. That's in the professional competence honesty zone. It's like telling people that doctor intentionally misdiagnoses patients. That lawyer knowingly files fake documents in court. Those are not interpretations. Those are concrete allegations of misconduct in someone's profession. So saying, I think they're bought or they're a shill or they're doing propaganda, that's protected opinion. Saying, I know for a fact that they fabricated that story, they knowingly staged props in their reporting when they didn't. That is a specific provable claim of professional fraud. And the law separates these for a reason. And of course, you know, who you are and when you state it. And, you know, if you're just a troll on the internet, you're probably not going to have any consequences. But if you're a newspaper and you publish that you think so-and-so is a pedophile and you do it once or twice or daily, you're probably going to see some consequences for that. And that goes for Tim Pool, right? He's not just some, well, it's arguable. I was going to say he's not some troll online, but arguable. Now, Tim didn't say, but he could have said, Kim smelled weird. Kim stinks. Kim is gross. I mean, these are crude, but they're legal opinions. He crossed into defamation when he knowingly and falsely named a specific event, did it maliciously. He said, Kim came into my studio on this day smelling like she didn't wipe. We couldn't stand the smell. That's why we didn't invite her back. My staff had to deal with it. These have a location, a date, a professional consequence. And I have proof of it all being false by being invited back numerous times. And the fact that he's only said this when angry and in retaliation, that is exactly the type of thing the law considers defamation per se. So let me put it in one clean sentence. You should be allowed to say almost anything about someone's politics. You should not be allowed to invent humiliating lies about their body, health, or professional integrity and present them as real events. Okay, not to your very large audience. Tim is not an internet troll, you know. Okay, I know we all probably are like, no, he is, okay. But he is more like a newspaper publishing your pedo on their front page. He's got a very large audience. And it is very different when he puts something out there and then suddenly I get bombarded with a bunch of messages from people saying, well, we heard you stink. Is it true you smell bad? Tim says you smell bad, that you have this like horrible stench about you when you came to the studio. So that's like, it's not just, oh, yo, she looks like she stinks. I think all of us look at him and think he stinks, but.
No, I look like I stink because if you're a regular watcher of it, you're a regular viewer of my channel. But I'm a nobody. But if you are a regular watcher of my channel, I wear a variation of the same clothes, but I do wash my clothes.
Different than saying, yes, this person showed up in my studio. Here's a story I have to tell you. And it's demonstrably false. So I stand by free speech. I stand by the right to say he's bought. I stand by the right to call out political influence, donors, and propaganda. What I don't have to stand by and what the law doesn't require anyone to stand by is a fabricated story that never happened. That's the difference. And no amount of spinning or beanie tightening or backpedaling changes it. Now, I don't intend to sue him. He's wrecking his own career without needing my help.
And also, I don't know how he's wrecking his own career. I don't know how Tim channel does well because he still gets about like 100,000 views per episode on his 3 YouTube channels. So here, he still does fine. I mean, 184,000 views. This is like a day ago. 41,000 views, 109K views. Now, the video where he got ratioed was when Kim Iversen did, when the video tempo got ratioed was when he had like a response to Kim Iversen about his Chatamas rule meeting with Israel reporter. That's when he got ratioed. 1 second, I want to do this quick. So here, okay, so I'm looking for it. So
Rejected.
So that was the only video Tim Pool got ratioed. So that was like a year ago when Kim Iversen responded to Tim Pool Chatham Mouse Rule meeting. You were exposed. Timmy got caught. Not Tim Pool. What a grifter. I've never seen a Tim Pool video get ratioed this hard. So that's the only video that that was one of the video where Tim Pool got ratioed by his own audience. Okay, so now
But I do intend for him to have to back up his claim if he's going to keep doubling down on this, which I suspect he might. Besides now trying to say, well, he did message me privately and he said, well, no, you know what? When I said to him, look, that's defamation per se. I'm sure his attorney probably said, yes, it is, unless it's your actual opinion. It's different. He's allowed to say he thinks I stink. And so now what he's trying to say, he's trying to backpedal this and he's trying to say, well, you know what, Kim? It's my God honest opinion that you stink. I mean it. You stink. It's my opinion. It's my God honest opinion, which of course, he's trying to say that, put it in writing legally to try to backpedal his statement. If he says, I believed she stunk, it was true. Okay, well then, not stinky enough for you not to invite me back because you certainly did several times. So, he does need to produce non-AI generated Slack messages or text messages between him and his staff making this claim. And then he would need to explain why they continued to invite me back, even if they felt this way about me, which we all know that no matter how bad I may or may not have smelled, no one could possibly smell worse than a guy who never changes his clothes or his beanie.
okay. Yeah. So, yeah, that feud that they had on December 2025 was actually kind of funny. But I mean, what Temple could have just said is like, Kim, you're irrelevant. You have over 800,000 subscribers, and you barely get 100K. That's what he could have said. Like for example, 25K, 37K, 63K, 18K, 49K, 11K. Okay, that's pretty much it.